Hey guys, I'm back with another episode. And today I wanted to talk about what has been put on the table by Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu in reference to Israeli and Palestinian peace. If you want to call it a peace offering, which I don't think it resembles anything of the sort at all. Basically what they did was they had a huge press conference, lots of media involved. This was on the day of Donald Trump's impeachment trial, as well as I think it was today or yesterday that Benjamin Netanyahu was actually, I don't know if he was indicted or charges were brought against him for corruption in Israel. So both of these buffoons are going up on the world stage, making a big deal out of this, calling it some sort of peace offering. But if you look at the map of what they were offering, it's basically some. It's barely a semblance. It's like a skeleton of what the map of Palestine, according to the 1967 borders, look like. It goes. I don't even want to say it's. It uses that as the framework, but there's so many like open holes, open areas, a lot of which are Israeli settlements, and then also there are gaps because the Israeli government and or military want to be able to control economic resources there, and not just economic but environmental resources. So the Palestinian state that they're offering would have absolutely no access to the Jordan River or to the Dead Sea. So it's just really a skeleton of, like, you take out the meat and the bones, or not the bones, you take out the meat of it, and it's just all these like dotted areas all connected by roads and such. And then they're saying there's going to be a tunnel between Gaza and the West Bank, which will probably be a shit tunnel because they won't help at all to invest in it. And then they created some road that connects to two areas in the desert. I'm not sure if that's the Negev Desert, or some other desert. But anyways, in terms of those two deserted areas, where I think they were saying is they labeled it on the map as some kind of area that they're allocating for some type of economic development. Basically, what I'm guessing that the Israelis want to do is create some kind of area that they already like have for Bedouin Israelis. Now they're Arabs, but there are like Bedouins who, if you understand Bedouin culture, Bedouin Arab culture, uh, historically they're nomadic people, but they don't really claim national heritage anywhere. So the Israelis have kind of used that as their way of being like, oh, these are Israelis, but they're indigenous Israelis. But they're not like Jewish. They're Muslim. And it's because the Bedouins don't necessarily claim that they're Palestinians or that they belong to a certain land. They kind of go wherever the flow is, and then I guess in recent times they've settled. Now, I've actually been to those areas in Israel, and I've met some of those Bedouin communities, and I would compare it. I mean, I can't actually compare it because I haven't seen Native American communities in the United States. But I guess what they do is they kind of cut them off with economic resources, and they kind of just say, oh, they give them bare bones, and then they just say, oh, these are Israelis, even though they're not. And I'm guessing that's probably what they would want to do. They'd want to push out the Gazans or whatever Palestinians out into these areas that they allocated in the desert, for whatever kind of development that they are seeking to do. Probably something self-serving. I'm assuming. I just don't have much optimism when it comes to the Israeli government. to begin with. I don't think that they really are, especially this government, the Likud government. They don't really put anything on the table that isn't self-serving for them. The interesting thing about it is that Jared Kushner is supposedly the one that drafted this plan, which is just ridiculous. You're putting fucking Jared Kushner, whose family has investments in illegal settlements in the West Bank. The West Bank should be Palestine. And he's got financial investments, and his family has financial investments in those areas. And you put this motherfucker, I'm sorry for my language, but you put him in charge of deciding what Palestine looks like? No. No deal, no deal at all. Nothing. This is a non-starter. This is the equivalent, what they put forth is the equivalent of Palestinians starting with, no, we want all of historical Palestine, which is the whole thing saying that there's no Israel on the map. Palestinians have much more sense to start from there. Palestinians at least have the sense to say, no, we want the 1967 borders. That's what it should look like. So it's ridiculous. Like, I don't know what they are actually thinking. They're really just trying to establish a second-class citizenry yet again, but then also in such a way that they don't have to claim that Palestinians are actual citizens of their country, so that they can continue having a majority in their government and representation and keep all the Palestinians economically below the Israeli population. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's a non-starter. No deal at all. At all. And the other thing, look, I'm pissed off about the Likud government. I don't hate anyone in the world. But the closest that I have to hate in my heart is my despising of Benjamin Netanyahu and what he's been wanting to do with the Palestinian people. However, if there's an argument, and this is like reaching far, there's an argument to be said that, okay, it makes sense that he and the hardliners in the Israeli government and the ultra-conservative faction, they would want to keep the Palestinians at bay, and they would want to make sure that their own people are doing better. I don't buy into it, but there can be an argument made for that. What makes me even more upset is the Arab government's reactions to this. With Saudi Arabia supposedly encouraging this deal and siding with the Americans and with Israel on this. And the Gulf states as well, Bahrain. I'm not sure what Qatar said. I'm not sure what UAE said, but they didn't stand up for the Palestinians. And you're having protests in Palestine about this. You have a Muslim citizenry in Saudi Arabia that I'm sure overwhelmingly is against this peace offering. And yet you have the rulers in the Middle East. Talk about Arab Spring. What Arab Spring? There's no representative democracy. Even Jordan is trying to walk a fine line. Jordan, I don't know what the king said in Jordan. I know that recently the government rejected some kind of, I forget whether it was gas. They said that they're not going to be importing gas from Israel anymore. But they have to walk a fine line because they're still trying to court American support. They still are financially tied to the United States. But yeah, there's a population in Jordan, I think it's 70% Palestinian, and yet you don't have leadership in Jordan that is like coming out strongly against this. Same thing in Lebanon, though Lebanon is a much trickier situation because Lebanon is still trying to find representative government right now, being that the country is in such turmoil with people protesting and now actors trying to really take advantage of what's going on there. So, as an Arab American, as someone who's been to the Middle East multiple times, I've lived a few months in Jerusalem myself. I've lived in Jordan and Lebanon, and I still have family and friends in Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, Palestine, Israel. I'm most upset by the Arab leadership, the lack of leadership in this situation. I kind of expect that the Likud government of Israel, even even with Benny Gantz, if he were the one that was making it, I would expect that he wouldn't offer something that is good for the Palestinians. There's no one that's negotiating on their behalf at all. Hopefully, after 2020, if we elect Bernie Sanders to the presidency, yes, Bernie Sanders is Jewish. Bernie Sanders lived in Israel for some time in his life. I trust him way more than the leadership in Israel right now to negotiate well on the Palestinians' behalf. So hopefully that can help the situation. I don't know what else could. Barack Obama didn't have the political will to do much, though, he did have some executive orders to assist Palestinians. And he basically, the most he did was just twist Benjamin Netanyahu's hands when it came to the settlements, but nothing was actually done under the Obama administration. The last thing I want to touch upon is big picture. We talk about one state solution, two state solution. A lot of times I have family members, friends who ask me, what do I think is the right solution? The right solution, in my opinion, is any solution that incorporates justice for the Palestinian people, where they have a representative government, that they can have a voice and have self-determination. Whether the Palestinians determine that to be a one-state solution or a two-state solution is up to them, and I fully support whatever it is that they decide. Now, there's a lot to be said about a two-state solution. If there is a two-state solution, Palestinians should have their own land within, where they could choose their borders, negotiate the borders with Israel, with Jordan, with Egypt, because then Gaza's on the Egyptian side, control their borders, control who gets to go in and out, and have some kind of economic sovereignty. They need to be able to do that, and without having citizens that are beholden to the Israeli government within those borders. That means get all the settlements out, all the illegal settlements, get them out of what would be a Palestinian state, out of the West Bank. So if there is a two-state solution, that needs to absolutely happen. The settlements need to go. And it's up to the Israeli government to resettle those settlers and to financially compensate them. And let's not forget the reparations that I think are totally due to the Palestinian people by the Israeli government. Okay, so that's a two-state solution. But what's going on the ground with the illegal settlements, with the encroaching upon the land, upon the rights of Palestinians, where you're now having, if I don't know if I'm speaking to people who have been there or not, but you go in and there are military personnel everywhere. Everywhere. There are checkpoints everywhere. You have to have your ID on you at all times. If you're a Palestinian, you have to have your ID on you. And it's getting checked by another government, an occupying government, by the Israeli military. When I was there, it happened to me multiple times. And a side note, they didn't give a fuck that I was American. I carried my American passport. But I speak Arabic, and I was speaking Arabic with my friends, and they said, no, you're Arab. Where are you from? Where are you from? They're ruthless. But yeah, so everything that they're doing right now is indicating a a mixing of the population. So you're having Israelis in the West Bank, living in the West Bank in settlements. And look, if you don't want to resettle them, if you want to keep the illegal settlements there, then you know what? Open the whole country to everyone. Call it Israel, call it whatever you want. Call it the United States of the Holy Land. You don't have to call it Palestine. But give every single one of those 4 or 5 million Palestinian people the right to vote, the right to self-determination, the right to buy a home, the right to have every single benefit that's offered to Israeli citizens by the Israeli government. So it's either one or the other. And the advantage is for the current government to play this game. And it's what they've been doing because it just works to their advantage. So that's all I really have to say about that. That's my reaction to this news story. I hope that things, I don't know, it doesn't look good for now, but like there's not much to be done. I just hope that pressure can be put on all the governments involved to kind of recognize that what the United States and what Israel are doing is really messed up. And I hope enough pressure can be put on Donald Trump to get Jared Kushner out. He's not a benign actor. He's in it for his own self-interest. I mean, the Trumps are all in it for their own self-interest. Who am I kidding? But yeah, that's it. That's all I got to say on that. Follow me Instagram, Twitter at Johnny Jabor. Once again, thanks for watching Johnny's Jabs.